If Donald Trump went up, right, we're talking about what would happen if a Republican did it. And here I have Peter Schiff mirroring what the whistleblower was going to say about from them on Twitter, even though there was no first-hand knowledge. They would say, can you believe this president is lying and needs to be removed from office? Only he'd be telling the truth. So let's focus on Adam Schiff. He's in the news for his involvement with this scandal. Now, here's the thing. It turns out, for people who don't know, that Schiff knew about the whistleblower complaint before it was filed. And his team actually advised the whistleblower on how to proceed. And President Trump, this is why he's just the best president ever. I mean, and I don't mean he's kind of better, like if you put him like, well, okay, where do you rank him above like McKinley or people who don't matter? No. George Washington is a distant second.
Wow. That's
He's the president we need.
He was asked about it and responded like this at a press conference yesterday.
There is a report that came out just before you and President Niinistö walked out here that the whistleblower met with the staff.
I love that question. It shows that Schiff is a fraud. And I love that question. Thank you, John.
He's so bitchy. Yes. Thank you, John. Oh, thank you. I love you, John. You're my favorite.
Oh, you mean this one? You know this one?
And when I say favorite, I mean not. So here's the thing, President Trump is right. Not only did Schiff secretly communicate with the whistleblower, he lied about it. Which brings us to this week's What a Piece of Schiff. Took hours to change it over to Schiff.
It was crazy. It's a whole paradigm shift.
I think we have a clip. Yeah, it's not a super long clip, but I think it provides context. Not only did he communicate, he lied about the whistleblower and communicating with him.
We have not spoken directly with the whistleblower. We would like to.
Oh. There you have it. Straight from the dick's mouth.
Really? Really?
That's interesting.
Guess it's more of a gland's penis at that point, if you're talking about a mouth. More of a Clydesdale. Has a mane. So Schiff, by the way, here's something important to note. This is the more you unpeel the layers to this onion, the more enraged you will find yourself.
Yeah.
He was mirroring actually the whistleblower's talking points on Twitter over a month ago to give a false sense of corroboration, right? Because people see it and go, well, hold on a second. Well, this sounds like what that Schiff character said. Keep in mind. Well, the whistleblower doesn't have any first-hand knowledge of the event, right? It's just someone said that Donald Trump did something.
Somebody said something.
Then he went to Schiff. And Schiff turned around and corroborated it preemptively. What is he corroborating? The complaint. They didn't have there was no first-hand knowledge of it in the first place.
Oh my gosh.
Someone said something. I'm going to go on Twitter and I'm going to lay the foundation that this happened, that someone said something, and then you'll come out, and then I'll tell them that I didn't talk with you about it. Also, I might kill myself.
Right.
So here's another example. Schiff, he claimed that Trump tried to get dirt from the Ukraine, right, on his political opponents. That's kind of the crux of this.
Right.
Well, here's something else. If we're talking, and I don't want to do the whataboutism, because I don't think this is a whataboutism. I don't think there's a direct comparison. I think that what Schiff has done is far, far worse. Let me explain. And I have videographic evidence. Take that, young Turks. Just Google it. How about you do it? So Schiff himself tried to procure, I'm trying to use more official terms here.
There you go.
Nude pictures of President Trump from the Ukrainians. But here's the thing. The Ukrainians turned out to be Russian pranksters. They were comedians, and they pulled the wool over his eyes.
Okay. And what's the nature of the compromise?
Well, there were pictures of naked Trump. When they were in Ukraine, we got their conversation by the phone where they discussed those compromising materials. We are ready to provide it to FBI.
So we will try to work with the FBI to figure out, along with your staff, how we can obtain copies of those.
Of course, we will provide you all our copies of all our materials.
Okay, first off, I guess we'll just ignore the raging homoerotic undertones.
Right, yeah.
They tried to come after Ben Shapiro because he said no one has described Brett Kavanaugh's penis, which is kind of a trend now with rapists. It happened with Michael Jackson, happened with Bill Cosby. Yeah. Right there, did you hear Schiff? He's like, well, can you send me the photo negatives?
I got a private angle.
I like the photo negatives because it reminds me of when I would try and scramble the satellite signal when I was a kid and I couldn't actually afford it. My parents were in the next room. It is amazing to me. He was trying to find nude pictures. And by the way, nude pictures, that's not even a scandal. That's
No.
not
Yeah.
illegal. It's just embarrassing.
Especially with this president, do you think he would actually care? He's like, "That's the best body. Come on, look at that."
Oh, I
Look at
think
that page. This is great.
President Trump
he
would care.
wouldn't
It's the
care.
biggest-
Come on.
I don't know.
He would turn it on.
By the way, hit the notification bell. Join Mug Club if you haven't already. $99 annually, $69 for students, veteran, active military. And just check the page. We do a new segment every single day because, as you've seen,
Do it.
Facial Larry Richmond, you know.
Yes, no, stop talking
It's
about
hard
it, please.
out
Thank
here
you.
for a content creator. Would be easier if I were a pimp. Their
would
channels,
be.
yes, they're on the recommended feed.
Yeah. Yeah.
How to backhand a bitch.
Trending. Come.
That would work better.
It's at the top.
But then if we talk about Schiff, I don't know why we get throttled.
Yeah, we do.
Maybe it should just be backhanding Schiff. Here's another example here why I think he's absolutely just a stunning. I mean, it's a skill as to how piece of shitty he is. Remember when the texts of the FBI agents, was it Page and Stroke, they were released?
Yeah.
Okay, so we had direct evidence of FBI agents saying that they wouldn't let Trump get elected because they had, quote, insurance policies in case he did. All right.
That's
Schiff
not scary.
responded that the FBI heavily favored Trump over Clinton. Here you go.
They were very selective in what they released. There were multiple reports last year that the FBI was heavily predisposed against Hillary Clinton and in favor of Donald Trump.
You know, and here's the thing. He's not necessarily wrong depending on who's working there at the FBI.
Right.
I think we all assume there can be bias because human beings have biases, right?
Sure.
But when Trump does that, when he says, Kobe's a hacker, Mueller, listen, this is a witch hunt, they try to accuse him of obstruction for doing exactly what Schiff is doing there. Here's another example. Schiff, he's known, this is something people don't know, he's known, it's kind of his raison d'etre for leaking repeatedly private info to the press and then lying about it.
CNN is running quotes from noon on about my testimony.
Testimony?
Does
he have a cold?
My testimony. What's going on in there?
Sorry, that's beside the point.
Since he's never met a camera he didn't love, I would bet a lot of money that it was him.
All right, you heard, you got the point. You want to respond?
Sure, he's been making this claim all along.
Just to be precise, yes or no, did you leak any of the information from his testimony?
No, I don't leak.
Well,
Beg to
first
differ.
off, how do you get caught flat-footed by Wolf, lowest score ever on Celebrity Jeopardy Blitzer? And I will say this, with this specific clip, maybe we cannot prove that he's lying, but he's still a piece of shit. That's the key takeaway.
It's a little slimy.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty.
And he's going to say, "Trust me."
And here's something else I would love to I defer to Half Asian lawyer Bill Richmond. During the Mueller investigation, Schiff, he repeatedly claimed that he had seen beyond circumstantial evidence that Trump had colluded with Russia, even after Mueller ruled that there was no evidence of collusion. People say, hey, the report didn't say no collusion. Well, hold on a second. It just says there's no evidence of it. You can say that about anything. Someone who gets off for any crime, like, well, the fact that he wasn't convicted of shoplifting doesn't mean that he didn't do it, but there's no evidence. So he's not guilty of it. That's how society works. Correct?
Absolutely.
We have a legal system, and if there is no evidence and you are not convicted, it means you didn't commit the crime in the eyes of the law, right?
That's exactly why we have the system, is to be able to call balls and strikes, make it done, and then move along. And here, what I find hilarious is the example that he has beyond circumstantial evidence. It's like the Beyond Meat Impossible burger, right? It's like, no, it's not actually meat, and this is not actually evidence.
Right.
You actually have to have something. And when he's asked repeatedly, he dances around. Well, we didn't actually talk to him, and well, we didn't actually get direct evidence, but like if you put together the different inferences and lies, then it's a story.
Yes. Here's what's important. If you put together different inferences, accusations, and of course, keeping in the front of your mind at all times that I am a piece of shit, I think you will come to see this issue in a new light. Here's actually a clip of him doing just that.
All you have right now is a circumstantial case.
Actually, no, Chuck. I can tell you that the case is more than that, and I can't go into the particulars. But there is more than circumstantial evidence now. So, again, I think.
So you have seen direct evidence of collusion.
I don't want to go into specifics, but I would say that there is evidence that is not circumstantial. As I've said all along, there's plenty of evidence of collusion and corrupt commingling of work between the Trump campaign and the Russians.
Oh. Good Lord.
Oh.
I mean, by the way, unless you think we're editing him out of context, he never did provide specifics. And everything he didn't in that interview, and you're waiting for it, don't hold your breath.
Google it.
You Google it. A lot of people haven't seen this. It only trended for 2 hours on Twitter.
And it was gone.
And then it was gone. I'm like, hold on a second. This is, in my opinion, as bad as it gets. It's as bad as anything I've ever seen in the political arena. When people talk about the right and the left are dividing us, I go, no, hold on a second. Let's not do the equivalency here, because have you seen Shitty Schiff? He made up an entire dialogue of Trump's phone call with the Ukrainian president. I want you to see him doing this here, presenting this as though it was fact.
He expresses his interest in meeting with the president and says his country wants to acquire more weapons from us to defend itself. And what is the president's response? Well, it reads like a classic organized crime shakedown. I hear what you want. I have a favor I want from you.
None of this happened.
No. And I'm going to say this only 7 times, so you better listen good. I want you to make up dirt on my political opponent. Understand lots of it.
Now, I know some of you are asking, because I get it, it's difficult today in our polarized society to know, okay, who's exaggerating, where are you stretching? Because everyone does, especially for comedy, we do that.
Yeah.
So you're wondering what percentage of that, if we were to put a number on it, is accurate? 0. Nothing. None at all. None of that ever happened. And here's something that's so dishonest too. When you watch it, he's reading it, and at one point he looks up and looks back down and goes, as though he missed a word that he's reading from an official transcript. Yeah. He tried to clearly imply that this was an official transcript. And then when he was called on it, this was his response, that it was parody.
My summary of the president's call was meant to be at least part in parody.
What a piece of shit.
Wow.
What a piece of shit. Think about that for a second. You know, when Donald Trump talked about, people got all upset because he would talk about changing libel laws, right? And this was really just to try and get media to stand down. We weren't happy about it. How is that not slander?
Right. Yeah. Right.
Think about that for a second. He read it as though it's a transcript, and he tried to get all high and mighty, saying, "Oh, if people didn't understand it's parody, that's a whole new problem," implying like because Donald Trump says such crazy stuff that you thought it was real when I made up stuff that Donald Trump said that was crazy that never really happened. But I told you he said crazy stuff, and so you tend to believe that this crazy stuff is crazy stuff he would say. But I'm just a piece of shit. It is remarkable to me that this was allowed to go. I think that is worthy of being forcibly removed from office. I really do. To me, that's just now, I don't mean violently. No. I mean, this guy should be forced to resign in absolute shame. I can't think of anything that would personify fake news more than reading from a fake transcript. And by the way, the reason he's doing that is because he knows that most people who are not hyperly engaged, unlike the people in this room, or often people who are watching this show or reading in the comment section, he knows they're going to walk by the TV screen, see this, and go, "Oh my God, I can't believe our president did that. I can't believe he said that." And they're not going to see the aside where he says, "Oh, it was clearly parody." Just like you don't see the slander, you don't see the libel. You do see it, that occurs on the front page, and then the apology, the retraction, is issued 2 weeks later on page 8. Yeah. He knew exactly what he was doing. And by the way, just to go into the Ukraine thing a little bit, Democrats, they've repeatedly reached out to foreign countries, including the Ukraine, for dirt on Trump. Okay? So at the absolute worst, Schiff is just accusing Trump of what he has done himself. Only Donald Trump hasn't done it. His accusations are false. The favor that Trump asked for was investigating foreign meddling in a U.S. election. Specifically in regards, there was a company called CrowdStrike. Not Biden, as Schiff was trying. I don't want to say Schiff suggests.
Right. I mean,
Schiff didn't suggest it.
It's not suggesting. It's direct statement.
Yeah.
I mean,
but it's not even a direct statement because it wasn't a real statement.
No.
It is entirely a fabrication.
What Schiff's saying is actually true. Right. It wasn't that Schiff suggested that these things were happening. He made express statements intended to deceive the public about what was said. That is fraud. Right there. That's what it is.
It's not. Yeah. It's not. What he said happened isn't true, but it is true that Schiff. It's like the inception of shit.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
And by the way, I thought we cared a whole hell of a lot about fair elections, Russian meddling in our elections. We have to get to the bottom of that. That was the entire thing we heard from day one of his campaign. Now he asks about it happening in Ukraine, and we're like, "Oh, you can't ask a foreign government that."
Right. And to be fair, later on in the call, it was mentioned that Biden shut down this prosecutor, the investigation of the company that his son worked for. It was a minor point. And here's something that I think is important. Right. There's a lot that we don't know. And that's why we try not to just offer nothing more than conjecture, because maybe some more info could come out. And people who stand firmly on their opinions when there's not enough info, sometimes they don't really age very well. But I do think it's important to look at what we do know and compare it with what they've said that is verifiably false.
Right.
For example,
very important.
we know for sure that that was not a transcript, and then he said it was parody. We know for sure that Schiff said Donald Trump was withholding military aid unless they investigated fired the prosecutor. That's what they said. But if you understand it, Trump never threatened that at all. It wasn't even mentioned. The Ukraine officials did not know about the change in military foreign aid until a month after the call.
Yeah.
So again, you can't know everything, but you can know what they've said that is false, and you can know certain facets of the story that are true. The things that we know to be true, they've already proactively lied about.
Right.
That's important for people to think of. That's important for people to point out. And I don't want to get into the minutia of it because, like I said, Glenn Beck has a special to Blaze TV, a whole thing about the Ukraine live after this. Is there anything else you guys want to say about it? The thing is, to me, they know exactly what they're doing. I don't want to ascribe ulterior motives. We've always tried to do that on the show.
Yeah.
Or if we do change my mind, or when we actually have debates like we've had in the show with politicians, with professors, with people who are worthy adversaries, I always try to assume that they are being sincere. But this is an exception. I don't even want to say it's a radical exception. He went up there and lied and read from a transcript that didn't exist. And when he was called on it, said, well, you know what? That was meant to be parody. What did you think it was? Well, you know what? I think most people thought it was what you intended it to be, which was a lie that you wanted to be accepted wholesale as truth. I didn't say this with Hillary Clinton. People are like, she needs to be put in jail. I never jumped on that train. I don't like Nancy Pelosi. It's crazy to me that she's the reasonable one in the party. Now think about that for a second. Nancy Pelosi. Yeah. When you have AOC, Schiff, Bernie Sanders, Pelosi, you're like, well, you know what? I guess I went over for Thanksgiving dinner.
By comparison,
there's a bridge too far.
If Donald Trump went up, right, we're talking about what would happen if a Republican did it. Okay, let's do this little walk it through this exercise here. And here I have Peter Schiff mirroring what the whistleblower was going to say about for them on Twitter, even though there was no firsthand knowledge. And Schiff knew there was no first-hand knowledge. He said he was going to go out and lie and fabricate a transcript for the world to see. They would say, can you believe this president is lying and needs to be removed from office? Only he'd be telling the truth.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. With video evidence.
That is how insane this has become. It's not whataboutism. It is far worse-ism as it relates to piece of Schiff, Adam Schiff. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this clip. If you don't, these are the ABCs of me, baby. You can just click next video and put it in double speed. Of course, search doesn't necessarily work. Subscriptions, notifications don't necessarily work. Just bookmark this page, check in. We do a new video every single day, except for Sunday. And if you don't want this content to disappear, join Mug Club at louderwithcrowder.com/mugclub. It's only $69 if you're a student, veteran, or active military. And if you don't, listen. I don't want to say that you're hellbound, but it doesn't look good for you.